All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Studio Series 86, Junkheap. Now, yeah, this is a kind of a fun character. This is our second Junkion from the Studio Series 86 line. Now, we have gotten a previous version of this character in Generations. This isn't the first time we've gotten him, but this one is actually much more based on the actual artwork for the movie, the character model, and the animation itself. Whereas that one was, we'll get into it, but that one was like more just vaguely a Junkion, where not like based on one of the specific character models. And this one is. Now, the character model that this one is actually based off of originally was called Junkyard, not Junkheap. But I guess they couldn't get the trademark for Junkyard. So every time we've gotten a version of this character, it's been Junkheap, which is kind of an amalgamation of Junkyard and one of the other one's names, which was Scrap Heap. But, it was an unnamed character in the movie, so he can be Junkheap. That's totally fine. But yeah, this is a repaint and a very heavy remold of the Studio Series 86 Wreck-Gar, unsurprisingly. I hope we get another one of these, honestly, because I'd sort of like to have a third different Junkion in my collection that are all using this mold. I don't know. It's a weird thing I have. If there's like two of them, then it just feels like a dichotomy or a comparison, whereas to actually have like a group, you need at least three. And we've got previous Junkion molds that we could put with it, but it would be weird to have this one and Wreck-Gar be the same mold and then the other ones be a different mold. But yeah, either way, he looks really nice in his motorcycle mode. He's got the spiky wheels just like before. It's the same wheels as Wreck-Gar. I didn't notice this till after I shot the review for Wreck-Gar, but the wheels are actually different sizes. And when I noticed that, my temptation was, okay, well, the big wheel you'd put in the back, right? And that's actually not true. You actually want the smaller wheel in the back, because if you put the big wheel in the back, it kind of spreads his knees a little bit, and it doesn't sit as cleanly. And then likewise, the front front fenders here, or the arms, have to kind of like bend in a little bit to hit to get like joined together on the smaller wheel. It doesn't really affect it too much. Like, it looks fine either way, but to have it the most kind of clean and correct, you do want the bigger wheel in the front. He comes with the exact same weapon as Wreck-Gar, pretty much in the exact same colors. His tan is, or gray rather, is a little bit more bluey than the kind of more yellowy gray on Wreck-Gar, but it's a very subtle difference that you'd hardly notice. So this is the one that goes with him, but otherwise, for all intents and purposes, it's the same little spinny weapon, which I really more associate this weapon with Wreck-Gar. So for him, I think I'm probably just going to leave this in the box, because he does have another weapon that I'll get into. But if you want to store this on the vehicle mode, it stores in the exact same way. It's got the little peg hole back here and the little peg on the handle itself that you can plug in, and it's got barely enough clearance for the wheel there, but you could do it sideways or up like this. However you want to do it. I tend to put it straight facing down, so it's kind of like a little propeller or something for the motorcycle, which is kind of silly. A really neat detail that I noticed on this one is if you look at the back of what will be his robot mode head here, he actually has a little speedometer molded in there, which is really cool. I don't think Wreck-Gar had it. Oh, Wreck-Gar had that too. Never mind. But still, it's a cool little detail nonetheless. In terms of comparisons, here he is after I get his weapon back on there. There we go. Here he is for the standard one with Studio Series Kingdom Sideswipe. Obviously not, well, I want to say they're not in scale because it's a motorcycle in the car, but really he's supposed to be a huge motorcycle that is a robot-sized motorcycle, so I guess they scale pretty well. It's a space giant motorcycle, so it can scale however it needs to. Here he is with the old Generations Junkheap toy, using of course, the Reveal the Shield Wreck-Gar mold. So you can see much more of like an alien spiky bike like they were originally designed, whereas this one's much more of a dirt bike. Mine's missing a handle there. And also, the thing with this one is they were really just using, one of the Junkion names from the concept art, whereas this one doesn't really have much of a design intention to actually look like this character, which is a lot more evident in robot mode. But even just from the colors alone, in the movie, there weren't really any red maroony Junkions. So I think they were just trying to do something a little bit different than the Wreck-Gar mold, but to be more accurate, it would be using more or less the same color scheme. But either way, that's what they look like together. And then here he is with Studio Series 86 Wreck-Gar. So you can see there's actually quite a bit of remolding here in the vehicle modes. The front sections here, which will become the robot mode arms, is remolded there. The entire front section, I didn't even realize this until I got it in person, is remolded. Because this one kind of has like the little arrow there to kind of make it look like the same arrow that's on Wreck-Gar's head to, I guess, imply that his head actually shrinks into that, which is sort of cheating, but whatever. The back section here, the whole, I guess, I don't know, motorcycle parts, is that the engine? I don't know. That's remolded. It's not just the difference of the flame deco. If you can look at the hinges here, it's definitely a different part there. And that's mostly it that's visible in this mode. There's a few more things in robot mode, obviously. They're remolded, obviously, the chest here, which will be more prevalent in robot mode. But otherwise, and he also has these panels on the side here to kind of give him a bit of a different look there in vehicle mode, and then also give him a little bit extra paneling in robot mode. But yeah, they look pretty good together. And then for the last big comparison, here he is with Studio Series 86 Wreck-Gar in his robot mode, because part of the whole fun of the Junkions, right, especially from the movie, is that they kind of, broke down and transformed into bikes and then rode each other. And then when you knock one down, he'd turn into a bike and the other guy would transform and jump onto him. It's a very, very cool vibe of giant robots riding each other's alternate modes. Now, the functionality of getting him to actually sit on the bike, like his own bike mode, I haven't gotten to try this out yet because I only have, just the one Studio Series Wreck-Gar, so I didn't try this out before. But I speculated before that because of this transformation slot and this transformation tab, because this piece kind of folds over for transformation, that this would make it ideal for him to kind of plug onto the bike in robot mode. Now, but because of this like little hump in the back here, it doesn't really plug in. Like, you can get it to rest on that spot, but it does not hold it in place like really at all. You can obviously just, pose him to be sitting on there, but it doesn't actually like really tab into place, which is what I was expecting it to, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, it's not a huge deal because obviously you can still get him on there and he looks, I think, pretty good plugged on there. His wheels kind of get in the way and his side pouches kind of, you have to fold them all the way out to the side. But once you get him on there, I think that looks pretty good. It's just a shame that doesn't like actually functionally tab like in quite as much as like previous versions, because if you look at them in comparison to the old Reveal the Shield Wreck-Gar on the Generation scrap heap, it works a little bit better because they had this whole kind of like clip system worked on underneath to the seat and the bottom part of the robot mode. Now, I mean, obviously, I think these guys are better figures overall, but I do kind of wish there was a little bit more of that like hard locking in place, whereas he really is just sitting on there. Like, if you really, really work it, you can get that to tab in, but it's not like a very solid connection. You can definitely feel it when it tabs in, but it's really just giving it a place to rest, not really giving it like, a hard locking point or anything like that, which is not the end of the world, but would have been nice. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the vehicle mode. I mean, it's got its two little kickstands down here, and it can roll, but only if you're, on a surface that has a little bit of tact to it. Otherwise, it'll just kind of slide across a smooth surface because of the wheel spikes or whatever. But yeah, in terms of transformation, get Wreck-Gar out of the side here. We'll take the weapon off for now and put that off to the side. It's mostly the same as Wreck-Gar, as you would expect. It's got a couple differences. Well, really just the one, just because of these panels need to do something. Because these panels actually also peg into the side of the feet here, which is a separate locking point that Wreck-Gar didn't have. So you just want to fold those down just enough to kind of untab them from the feet there. And then the feet still tab into the shoulders like before. So you just untab those and bring the knees down. Unpeg the legs here and take the wheel out for now. We'll put that back on later. Fold down his feet here. Now the front section here, it still tabs into the chest piece just like before. So you just want to untab that, separate the arms, bring them out to the side. We'll take this wheel off for now as well. Bring the arms down here. Now these panels can be a little bit annoying. You kind of want to do it when the shoulders are still oriented like this. Otherwise, it'll kind of run into all these tabs and spikes and stuff here, and you want to do it after folding it out. Otherwise, like at least with this side, it runs into the handlebar, so there's like some kind of clearance annoyance, but once you know kind of when in the transformation to do it, it's not too bad. And you can flip out his hand there, and then do the same thing on the other side. Just want to bring it around, fold this down. It kind of clips in place, but really the joint itself is tight enough that it doesn't really need to. Bring out his hand there. And then the head here, just like Wreck-Gar, is in the main section here. Now with him, he's got these rubbery ears that are on a hinge, and you want to be careful when going back into bike mode, because you can see in the back here, if you just kind of put it in the, I don't know if you can see it, the tips of the little handlebars get stuck on these little corners here, which is not good for it. So you want to make sure that you're actually like getting those rubber pieces around those edges there and getting it back in, so that you're not like flexing that rubber and potentially breaking it or warping it. It's just, it's not too difficult to do. You just have to take kind of special precaution, really. And they're not really in risk of like snapping or anything. You just wouldn't want to like warp them by leaving them like that for too long. You want to take this whole waist section here, and it'll hinge up like this, and then that section will tab into there. Although you really have to kind of do this simultaneously with the rest of it. You want to fold this section down, bring this up enough so that you can tab that into place fully. Double hinge this section down with the chest piece there, bring up his head. You can fold out his little ears. And then I guess before you do all that, really, you should take the main section here and fold it in, and then fold the windshield down, and then you can bring his shoulders in, and then you want to bring the chest piece down, and then the tabs on the little shoulder armatures will go into slots on the chest, just like Wreck-Gar. And then straighten everything out. You can take his little handlebars and fold them to the back. I found that this one was like a lot more stiff, and I couldn't even get it to fold all the way back at first, but it's loosened up since then, thankfully. But either way, here we have Junkheap in his robot mode. Now, with the wheels here, with Wreck-Gar, you wanted to have one wheel on the arm to be more accurate to the movie. You can't really do that with him just because of these panels. They block that connection point, so you do have to put both of them on his legs, which is fine because I would want him to differentiate a little bit more from Wreck-Gar anyway. Now, obviously, the wheels are asymmetrical. I tend to put the smaller wheel on his left just because he's got this, gun arm on his left, so it kind of balances out by having the smaller wheel on that side. But really, whatever. It's no big deal. But yeah, there you have Junkheap in his robot mode, and he looks really nice. I really appreciate the detail here. He definitely looks just like the character model. The proportions, like he definitely looks a little bit more like Wreck-Gar than the proportions of the actual character model. But in terms of all the reshelling and stuff that they did, I think that it works pretty well. It definitely feels like a sort of different entity from Wreck-Gar, even if proportionally they are pretty similar. Now, obviously, you can give him his weapon here to hold in his hand. And again, sure, I guess this is kind of just a Junkion weapon. I really associate that specific weapon way more with Wreck-Gar. So, oh, he dropped it. What are you doing? He actually doesn't hold it. Oh, there you go. It's a pretty tight connection, so you have to push it into his hand a little bit more. But yeah, he looks fine. And you can, same with Wreck-Gar, you can store it on the back here. He still has that port, even though it's a different molded part. Oh, actually, I don't know. Maybe this part is the same. I'm not sure. But either way, you can store the weapon there. But he also has this arm-mounted gun as part of the panel that was like one of the new parts added. So I really tend to think like, okay, this is his weapon, and then this is Wreck-Gar's weapon, so I leave that in a box. But either way, it's nice that you have that there as an option. In terms of articulation, obviously very similar to Wreck-Gar. Head is on a ball joint. Get a good amount of wiggle, but also some rotation before his ears bump into the windshield there. The shoulders are on swivel joints, and then a hinge out to the side has that nice detailing in there to fill in the gap when you move the shoulders up. That's pretty nice. Got a bicep swivel 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. He's got wrist rotation, and also it can bend back like that for transformation. He's got a waist joint. He's got this joint, which is kind of like an ab crunch. It's part of transformation, and I still wish that this tabbed in a little bit more securely. Really, if this whole tab and slot connection was just better in general, then that would fix the problem of Wreck-Gar not sitting on him super well in vehicle mode either. Because it's the same tab and slot, but it's a little bit annoying. It's a little bit tighter on this one than it was on Wreck-Gar, at least on my copy. But I do kind of wish that was a bit more of a solid connection, because it does tend to just kind of like disjoint when you're messing around with them. The little pouches on the hip skirt here can fold out of the way, and you can fold the legs out to the side, obviously only there until the wheels hit it. You can go forward, back. There's a thigh swivel. A few degrees under 90 of bend at the knee there. The feet can tilt forward and back, and they have that same kind of weird, like only half of the foot ankle tilt that Wreck-Gar had. Now he does have the same sort of issue that I had with Wreck-Gar, where the ratchets on the legs are a little bit too far apart. Like you're either like this, which doesn't look bad, but then the next ratchet out is all the way out to here, which is not great. Thankfully, just like Wreck-Gar, they are soft enough that you can kind of get it to sit in between those and have a much more natural looking stance. So that's nice. It is just a little annoying that it kind of like locks into that outer position. It has a tendency to kind of throop to that point, even if you can get it to stay in between. But yeah, in terms of comparisons, here he is again for the standard one with Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see what he looks like with an average size deluxe. We got big Junkions now. Here he is with the previous generation's scrap heap. So you can see what I'm saying here, or Junkheap rather. I mean, he could be Junkyard, he could be Scrap Heap, who cares? They don't look anything like each other, is basically what I was saying. Like, this one is not really based on this character model, and it's also much more just like the exact same mold as Wreck-Gar, except, just with a different head sculpt, whereas this one has a lot of remolding here. Like, if we look at him with Wreck-Gar, you can see head's obviously different, chest is completely different, shoulders are different, arms are different. Everything from the waist down is pretty much the same, except, and this is not a huge detail, but except for the top part of the feet here. You can look at Wreck-Gar's feet there. The main reason why I imagine that they remolded that part at all is because they needed to add the extra tab on there so that it could tab into the arm panels in vehicle mode. But it is a slightly different detail nonetheless, even though the rest of the feet is the same. So yeah, proportionally, they're pretty similar, obviously, since they're mostly using the same mold, but it definitely feels like a pretty different character in terms of like the identity of the details there, even just with little things like the extra arm panels and having the wheels arranged differently than on Wreck-Gar. And like I said before, I would really like a third one so that we could have like one of the other Junkion designs and have Wreck-Gar and his like two goons, basically. I would really enjoy that, because as it is right now, just having two, it's like, okay, yeah, if we want a third Junkion that looks different, I guess you could use him, but like it's sort of like one of these things is not like the other and also can't stand, apparently. What are we doing? So it doesn't really work quite as well as like a Junkion I don't know, like triage. I would much prefer to have a third one using, a reshelled version of the same mold so that, they all kind of feel the same, but also have their own identity to them. I don't know. But either way, I think he looks pretty good with Wreck-Gar, and it's definitely fun to have them kind of ride each other's vehicle modes. I'm not going to bother showing him off on Wreck-Gar's vehicle mode just because I don't feel like transforming him again. But, it's the same kind of functionality. It basically works the exact same way. But, he's a really nice looking figure. It's really nice to get, well-constructed figures of some of the more, like, obscure kind of background characters from G1, because like they easily, since this is such a like a sort of obscure character, they very easily could have just done the same thing that they did with him and made him the exact same mold as Wreck-Gar except for the new head. But they really took their time to actually make this, like, use this mold to make it look as much like the original character model as possible, which I really appreciate. And like I've said, I would really like to see a third one using that same kind of philosophy, or more I'd be happy with more. I'll buy this mold as many number of times as they put out new Junkyons. I think it's a really nice mold. But yeah, no, that's pretty much all there is to him. A very nice looking figure. If you liked Wreck-Gar, you like this guy. If you don't like Wreck-Gar, he doesn't really change a whole lot. So sorry, but I think most people like this figure because he's really good. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers, I almost said Generations, Transformers Studio Series 86 Junkyard, Junkheap, whichever, who cares.